Welcome back to another video. Today we'll reveal the result of our recent survey where we ask you to vote for the worst P2P platform of 2025. But before we do so, let's recap the results from 2024 so we can evaluate how the sentiment changed over time. The rules were simple. You have been given 3 questions. What's the worst P2P platform based on your experience? What are the reasons behind it? And which platform do you think will shut down? So here are the results from last year. With nearly 21%, EstateGuru was voted as the worst platform, followed by Lendermarket with 25% and Reinvest24 with 15%. The main reasons why those platforms were selected were many delayed loans, buyback guarantee was not honored, withdrawals were blocked, or the platform acted as a black box. Last year, our community also predicted that Lendermarket was the most likely platform to shut down, followed by Reinvest24 and EstateGuru. Fast forward to 2025, we already know that Reinvest24 shut down its operations and locked over 20 million euro of investors' funds. The platform also blocked all withdrawals amid claims to recover some loans while fighting legal battles with its shareholder Kirsan. Alright, so let's look at your votes for 2025 and whether there has been a change in opinions. As of the recording of this video, these are the worst platforms based on the votes from our community. Lendermarket has the third largest share of negative votes with nearly 9%, followed by Bondster with 12% and EstateGuru by an overwhelming 50.5%. So as you can see, the negative sentiment increased significantly for Bondster and EstateGuru, while it decreased for Lendermarket when compared to the previous year. Let's have a closer look at the reasons behind the selection of the worst platforms. For Lendermarket, most investors mentioned that either the buyback guarantee or the terms and conditions are not honored. A significant share of voters also voted that the platform is blocking withdrawals or simply that their loans are not performing. If you have been following Lendermarket for several years, you know that this platform is primarily looking out for its own interest, particularly the funding of its parent company Creditstar, over protecting investors' interest. The share of negative votes did, however, decrease from last year. This is likely due to the fact that some investors were able to exit their investments. While this may be good news for affected investors, it may just delay more severe issues connected to the platform's approach to risk and liquidity management. As many of you know, Creditstar has also launched another funding source, Monefit Smart Saver, which managed to raise tens of millions from investors with just a simple landing page. As the funds from Monefit Smart Saver can be used at Creditstar's discretion, they can easily use a share of those funds to repay investors on Lendermarket. Whether this is a sustainable business model is up to you to decide. Unfortunately, many investors accept this risk as both platforms, Lendermarket and Monefit Smart Saver, continue to increase their assets under management. With over 12%, Bondster was voted as the second worst platform of 2025, mainly due to the buyback guarantee not being honored or the share of non-performing loans, which, by the way, Bondster is not even publicly disclosing. This information is quite alarming considering Bondster tries its best to position itself as a reliable platform while literally not revealing anything about its loan book performance. Like many other shady platforms, Bondster also relies on time to heal all wounds. Alt investors will eventually move on from the platform, while Bondster will be focusing on marketing its loans to new, less experienced investors who will bring fresh capital. I've been monitoring the P2P lending industry for the past 8 years and have seen this strategy play out many times by various market players, including EstateGuru, which, by the way, received over 50% of votes and is the winner among the worst P2P platforms in 2025, a podium you don't want to be on. Over 70% of the participants voted that the share of non-performing loans is the main reason behind negative sentiment, followed by poor risk management, suspicion of fraud, and poor communication. And the community is on point. EstateGuru has historically had the worst P2P portfolio despite no longer funding loans in problematic regions such as Germany or Finland. The recovery of defaulted loans is slow, mainly due to the very high concentration risk, as EstateGuru funded most of the loans to a handful of borrowers who refused to pay the money back. If you take a step back, most voters chose the non-performance of loans as the main reason for a negative platform experience. This aligns with the performance updates we publish every month. The higher the default rate, the more negative the experience of the community. During the survey, we also asked the community members to vote for a platform that they believe will stop its operations this year. Most participants voted for EstateGuru, High5, followed by CrowdRester and Lendermarket. Whether this expectation becomes a reality remains to be seen. At the time of recording, EstateGuru has not yet released the financials for 2024. If they made a profit, it's unlikely that they will cease operations, even though their portfolio is shrinking. The remaining candidates don't share any meaningful information with investors, so it's tough to give any opinion about whether they will still be around in the future. Usually, if a platform is not transparent with its community, it's never a good sign. In a perfect world, we don't want to see any platforms fail, as they manage millions of investors' funds. Unless you are super rich and have a minimum exposure to P2P, losing your hard-earned money isn't something you should be okay with. The reality is, however, that this isn't a dream and some platforms will fail sooner or later. So how can you avoid those bad players in the first place? Well, there are a few actions to follow to minimize the risks. First, you will have to conduct an in-depth due diligence about the platform's business model and the management. If the management is connected to scams or failed businesses, then you would be better off avoiding the platform. If the business model behind the platform isn't suitable or resembles the same model as that of an already failed platform, then you should most likely also stay away. If you are investing on P2P marketplaces, you should also research the individual lenders and assess the risk based on the available information. Keep in mind that some marketplaces do a really poor job in risk assessment. If you don't have time or the knowledge to assess the risk on your own, I would argue that perhaps P2P lending is not the right fit for you. Taking any shortcuts here may not pay off in the future. Certainly, you can always rely on others to make the research for you, but remember that the financial situation, the exposure to P2P lending, as well as the risk profile of any P2P reviewer can vary significantly from yours. In the P2P lending space, many influencers recommend all newly launched platforms with zero track record and shady management. Why? Because newly launched platforms pay the best affiliate commissions. At the same time, freshly launched platforms also carry the highest risk levels. Sometimes the risk pays off, but most often it doesn't. If you don't want to gamble with your funds and your goal is more aligned with capital preservation, then you are better off waiting until the platform builds some track record. If you struggle to make sense of P2P lending and have a hard time figuring out whether a platform is worth it, I have some good news for you. The P2P industry is not that young anymore, and plenty of investors have made mistakes from which you can learn. There is a lot of information on P2P Empire that you can use to assess the platform's risk profile. After establishing that the platform meets your risk levels based on your initial research, you will need to monitor the events surrounding the platform and evaluate its business decisions based on the market developments. Again, you can use our newsfeed or watch our monthly performance updates to stay in the loop about the most recent events. At the same time, we don't monitor 100% of the events, and we also don't cover all the platforms. So it's also good to follow the platform's news that impact you personally. If you don't want to take responsibility for your financial decisions, which include doing your own risk assessment based on your research and monitoring, then perhaps P2P lending isn't the best option for you. At the same time, it's not really a rocket science either. Here are a few tips that you can use as part of your research. If you navigate to some of our reviews on P2P Empire and see a low risk and return rating or the compare platforms buttons, it means that the platform is not meeting even the most basic risk criteria. In this situation, we believe that an investment in this platform is unreasonable for most of our readers. You will see this button on 50% of all listed platform reviews on P2P Empire. This also means that we receive absolutely no affiliate income from these platforms, despite offering you free information, which we also aim to update occasionally. Another piece of information you can use is our newsfeed, where you can stay in the loop about the latest events. If the quality of the platform's portfolio decreases, it's obviously not good news. You can also have a look at the statistical data, which we update every month based on publicly available information. We interpret this data in our portfolio evaluations, giving you a good idea about the risks you are taking by investing on a particular platform. As mentioned earlier, most investors reported that a non-performing portfolio is the main reason behind a negative experience. So if a platform reports a negative portfolio quality, the risk increases and your long-term experience may suffer. Okay, but what about platforms that we don't review on P2P Empire? Well, that's a fair question. There are probably another 20 platforms that are not mentioned on a regular basis. The reason behind it is that I'm just not convinced that their business model is sustainable, Hence, I'm not willing to expose our community to this risk. Other P2P reviewers may have a different opinion on that and are eager to earn income from those platforms, promoting their cashback offers and whatnot. And I guess that's fine for them. There is certainly a group of investors with extreme high risk tolerance who are willing to invest in anything. I just don't feel comfortable with this strategy, as perhaps my risk profile is different. When it comes to due diligence, I always remember our discussion with Gustas Kermanvicius from a few years back when we met in Lithuania. He told me that when Inrento evaluates projects, they always look at reasons why it's not a good fit for them. So basically looking for red flags that automatically disqualify an investment. And that's a great takeaway that I apply to my research as well, which is also one of the reasons why you don't see so many newly launched platforms listed on P2P Empire. Note that I am never 100% right on this, and that some of the not mentioned platforms may yield great results for investors. A proper due diligence and monitoring takes a lot of time and resources, which we don't have as a self-funded project. As an investor myself, I can share with you that you will always be better off monitoring and researching the platforms on your own and creating your own opinion rather than following someone else's strategies. So there you have it. I hope this video was valuable to you. Note that the worst P2P platforms were selected by our community. While I agree with the result, it does not mean that other investor communities share the same sentiment. Not everyone who participated in our survey has exposure to platforms that we don't cover. This means that the result of this survey is not a reassurance that other platforms are safe. There are plenty of shady operators that you should stay away from, and unfortunately, that's likely not going to change as long as investors continue investing there. For more insights, you can review our Academy article on P2P Empire. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.